And we are back, continuing our progression now. Going to be jumping in mid-series onto soO versus Harstem here, a little bit of a PvZ prequel match that we have on our hands here.
Yeah, we are
continuing that. Yeah, going to be continuing in, and of course, the winner of this series is going to be moving up for Two-Face Lambo in that qualifying match. Before that, though, we have 1 to 2 more maps to determine who's going to be his opponent, and here we are. Going to continue things on Oceanborn in the top left-hand corner map. Starting all the way in the top left, we have our red Protoss player currently up 1-0 in this best of 3, one map away from a rematch. We have, for Shopify Rebellion, Harstem.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing CranKy Gaming. It is soO. And for those that maybe did miss it, we are jumping in mid-series. Game 1 was played out on Steadfast's channel. He was covering Game 1 on site Delta. It was a long macro game, went all the way to the late game between Harstem and soO. And Harstem now leads the series 1-0.
He does. He does. That was also on site Delta? Is it? My memory is already kind of fuzzy for things that happened 5 minutes ago, but yeah, it was on site Delta, so a map that really does lend itself very well to split map scenarios. I doubt we're going to be seeing too much of the same here on Oceanborn. Map with a lot of yeah, it's just not as good. 4 split map scenarios.
Yeah, it has a lot more aggressive tendencies here, just because the third base is a little more vulnerable, a little more exposed, a little more viable here to go for these like big 3-base all-ins. There's a reason why, if you remember earlier today, we casted a lot of Solar ZVPs, and we saw Solar more often than not in multiple series go for these big 3-base all-ins, cutting workers at 66 on 3-base saturation and trying to kill his opponent with mixed success.
Yeah. Worked pretty well against Skillus, not as well against Shutdown. And we'll see if soO is willing to replicate something similar here. soO has, again, been another one of these players who has really been grinding and really been showing a new level of play, a new level of form in these past couple of months. I think it was pretty surprised. A lot of people were pretty surprised when soO was able to take out players like Classic and players like I think Classic was a big one in the last season of, in the most recent season of GSL, or even in GSL qualifiers, and he has been able to keep that going. He has been just maintaining his form quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see him improve the way that he has over the past couple of months, as you did mention, but can he keep it going, or does his story end here now, because he is up against the wall? As a reminder, this is a best of 3, not a best of 5, so one more loss, and he is out of the entire tournament. Likewise, one more win for Harstem, and he can advance on to face off against Lambo in a rematch.
Indeed, he can. Yet another Shopify team kill, potentially.
Potentially. Meanwhile, we do see soO moving out with his lane. Going to be getting us around here, forcing the pulsar beam on this Oracle. So we do force some wasted energy at least. And of course, soO does confirm the Stargate opener. Should be getting ready back at home with his queens.
Yeah, does have a couple of queens already in position. Starting to get spore crawlers on the way. Whoop. So this initial Oracle going to be completely deflected. Not quite taken out. Whew.
Takes a lot of damage though. The whole damage is real on this Oracle. But thankfully we have a second Oracle on the way and a third thereafter as well. So Harstem keeping the aggression up. Still not quite moving out with the Adepts yet, but soon I imagine will be, as once again he does dip in between the bases. Gets one drone kill. Oh, barely one drone here towards the end, but just the one drone for now.
Whoop. Yeah, for now. Oracles are a little bit split up, so not quite able to get the one-shot potential, but it does distract the queens a little bit. Harstem takes a lot of damage, but keeps his oracles alive. He's able to get a little bit of worker damage. Couple of worker kills.
Yeah, 3 drones in total. Not too bad here for Harstem, considering that he hasn't lost any Oracle yet, so not a bad start whatsoever. Is now transitioning into a Twilight Council, Forge as well. This should be for +1 and Blink on the horizon. There are definitely charge variations here, but I imagine Harstem is a little bit more of a Blink boy in the PvZ matchup. At least that's what we've seen historically from him.
Yeah, historically, and seeing that +1 on the Forge is definitely signaling that we're going to be going that direction.
We are, as the Mass Adept is going to be moving out. It's going to be 6 Adepts on the ground. We have 3 Oracles in the air. We go for the Queens! Up!
Do go for the Queens, a high energy Queen that, yeah, there's just not enough transfuse energy on the rest of them. Another Queen goes down. Very fantastic sniping here. Cut off from Harstem, great surround with the Adept, and we have confirmation that is charge.
Yeah, okay, it is not going to be Blink. We have Charge on the way instead. Charge lots and Immortal production into Archons as well. We spoke about this before, earlier today. I think it was Showdown that was whipping this out, how this has been quite a trendy composition as of late, going for an Immortal Archon heavy composition. I believe Skillus was doing it as well, and we'll see how hard we can embrace it as the Oracles don't quite make it into the mineral lines.
Yeah, they don't quite make it into the mineral lines, but they don't quite die either. Take a lot of hull damage, but they are still alive, and they will continue to be useful as this game continues. soO going for a pretty massive Ling run by, trying to get at the very least, trying to get the sentry. Not quite able to get it.
So
we'll shave off a couple of Adepts, but nothing too consequential here.
3 Adepts, not a bad start from soO, still being active with his Lings. Behind this, Hydra Den is on the way, so Ling, a Hydra, going to be the composition of choice. And we'll see if we can get away with it. It's usually a little bit risky to skip Roaches. There is a Roach Warren, but we're skipping Roach production in favor of Ling Hydra. And with Harstem taking a 4th base, that's going to be our sign that soO is safe enough to take up and shouldn't have to deal with any kind of earlier push anytime soon.
Not quite yet. I'm getting flashbacks to what we witnessed in game number 1. At least a little snippets that I was able to gather from looking at Steadfast's stream.
Yeah, the Lings are going to be forced back. Hydra upgrades are on the way. Interesting here that we went double Hydra Den into double Hydra upgrades. I'm curious if that was intentional or not. I mean, there's going to be a timing here with these 2 upgrades, true, but I don't know if we're really going to be making use of it.
Yeah, I don't know if this was intentional from soO, but at least he's making the most out of it. He is getting both of his upgrades a little bit quicker, or at least one of his upgrades a little bit quicker.
Yeah, the upgrades are going to be finishing up. We are working towards +2. Likewise, the Lings are still being active, denying any kind of 5th base setup here. But Storm is done for Harstem. Pushing into this army, it's going to be quite difficult for a fragile composition or vulnerable composition like Lingbane Hydra. Storm is going to be good against all things light.
Yeah. You would know.
It's true.
Yeah. And confirm, we also have a lot of stasis wards being set up. Harstem really wants to secure himself with this 4-base economy, really wants to get into the next phase of the game. soO is willing to meet him there as the infestation pit is about to finish up.
Yes, and that should be for Hive Tech. That should be for an eventual Lurker switch as well. We'll keep an eye out for any kind of Lurker Den, which should be thrown down momentarily. Meanwhile, we do see soO still being active with these Lings. It will take a stasis to the face. Ooh, does take a massive stasis here on the Ling army. But again, I don't think soO really intends to commit anytime soon. With the Hive on the way, we should be looking further ahead.
Yeah, he's just looking to be active with his army on the map. Ideally, pick off couple of stray units as Harstem, is sending out a couple of zealots here and there to go for run-bys, and at the same time, soO is making is looking threatening on the map, and yeah, ideally is just going to keep Harstem contained on 4 bases and not attacking soO while he gets up to his Hive Tech.
I mean, that's a lot of Banelings. We have a Fleet Beacon on the way that's going to be for Sky Toss if we have to deal with Lurker Tech, but at the same time, here we go. soO is going to be pushing in. How good are the Storms going to be? That's a lot of High Templar.
There is a lot of High Templar, and the Storms will absolutely evaporate the Banes before they can connect with really anything.
Oh
Still plenty of Storms remaining. All of them do get popped. and none of the Zerg units are able to connect.
Yeah, we are forced all the way back. soO behind this, skipping Lurker Tech, going for a Spire instead. Interesting. Spire is on the way. Of course, that will help against SC2 by rushing into Corruptors. And meanwhile, we're still sticking with Ling Bane Hydra. This is an interesting choice. I do worry a little bit for soO because we saw how many storms there were earlier, and we still have plenty left over here. Like, this is still a threatening ground army here for Harstem.
Strapping myself in.
Well,
as Banelings try to go for a run by, but really fantastic set of defense here from Harstem. Very attemptive storm usage as well. Gonna prevent soO from getting any worker damage, really. 2 probes go down. But at this stage, it's not the biggest of deals. Harstem still able to saturate his 4 bases, still gonna be able to get into carrier production.
yeah, I mean, soO is throwing away a lot here to not get much done. Like, that's a lot of gas invested in all these Banelings. You see Banelings trying to rush in once again, but we do not touch the mineral line here. Harstem, just his defense is just too solid. And that SC2 is on the way. Thankfully, soO already has a greater Spire in production. I imagine going to be working on a second Spire and additional upgrades for the Corruptors. Still being very active with the Ling Bane, but again, has been bleeding out a lot.
He has, and arguably he does need to clear up some supply to be able to get more Corruptors, to be able to eventually switch into Brute Lords, but like you said, he's not doing anything, or he's not really getting anything in his trades when he's sending out all of the supply. He's trading a lot of Banes for, I say trading, but he's not actually getting much out of them, so I don't know if it's much of a trade, really.
Yeah, as we have some Zealot Rumbites coming in, they're able to force soO back home. Harstem, the big thing for him is going to be expanding. We've been stuck on 4 bases for quite some time. Taking a 5th base is going to be quite necessary for him to build up a bank. He has yet to do so, though, as we're still working on carrier production. 2, now 3 carriers getting out here for Harstem. Still stuck at home, and soO is able to at least deal with the would-be Zealot Rumbites.
I guess the main advantage of soO's more mobile ground army for the time being. Ultra Cavern on the way, okay. That I think was something that soO was missing in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Ultras are a good way.
If I'm wrong, chat.
Yeah, they're a good way to dive on the army, to get on top of these High Templar, deny the storms. Like, they're definitely an answer to some of the more supportive units that Harstem is going to have. We'll see how this all comes together because, again, it takes a while to get into those upgrades, and Harstem, I'm pretty sure, is soon to move out.
Yeah, I mean, he's vaxxed out. He's looking to start to position himself on the map and start to take the fight to soO.
Yeah, exactly. As how many High Templar are we working with? We have 6 High Templar here for Harstem. The carrier army is still amassing slowly but surely for him as we do throw down a massive wall of side defense. Creep is spreading all around, by the way. Harstem, we need that 5th.
We really, really do. It's just really difficult to keep up and remax an army or continue to build units here when we get to the late game stage, the Fleet Beacon stage, when you only have 4 bases to work off of. Banelings come in from just about every single angle. There were some beautiful storms taking them out, but it's still a lot of damage that was dealt. Corruptors able to snipe the mothership. Still a lot of Archons on the ground, so they're not quite able to get on top of the carriers, but a decent trade from soO. One of the first trades that I think really went his favor.
Yeah, and that's why we have the Ultras now on the way. As you mentioned, there's actually not that much in the air for Harstem. He's got 2 carriers and that is it. So we have Ultras in production instead. Storm's going to be annihilating some of the Ling Bane here, but we're breaking on through nonetheless. Another carrier goes down.
Like so. The Archons on the ground, still putting in a lot of work. The ground army has been able to fight back a lot harder than the air army, and that might just make the difference here for Harstem. Ultralists are now out, and they're not fully upgraded yet, but there's still a lot of potential for them, especially if they can get on top of these High Templar.
And bearing in mind as well that we did rush into that Greater Spire earlier, so Broodlords are viable here. They're definitely a viable option for Harstem. Once he realizes that there is 0 Skytoss left, Broodlords will reign supreme. Usually Broodlords force out Tempest, but again, there's just nothing in the air, not anymore.
Yeah, and that's not really an option here for Harstem. Again, he's down to 4 bases, or he's been kept on 4 bases for so long, so switching into continuing his Skytoss production is not going to be the most efficient use of his resources, let me put it that way.
Yeah, as we at least have the mothership on the way. I mean, that's going to help with movements, you know, with an extra recall, very viable, a very useful tool here for Harstem's main army. As we do see Lingbane rolling in once again, the probes are getting caught out, and we do get some connections. Able workers go down.
Yeah, good storm's going to prevent the Banelings from connecting with the main army, but like you said, the damage that's been dealt was economic damage, and again, this is just going to keep Harstem further and further behind, slide a little bit lower and lower in the tech tree, in the tech production, as soO is working with Hive Tech.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see that kind of Broodlord switch. We haven't gotten there yet. Harstem does at least clear up some creep, and again, he should be looking to expand soon. Until then, though, soO's still being very active. Once again, the Ultras have arrived, making sure that there is 0 expansions here from Harstem. And over time, we are going to be running out of these mineral patches and running out of gas. Sure, soO hasn't been the most efficient player, he hasn't had the most efficient fights, but he has bases, has an economy to make up for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I would summarize soO's style, right? He survives long enough to get into the late game with a very strong economy, and then he pretty much lets his macro speak for itself, his economy speak for itself, as he has so much production, so much mineral mining, and enough of a bank that, like I said, he can just be inefficient and still get value.
And there it is. Broodlords are now on the way. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. Again, there are so many Immortals with this army. Ultra's gonna melt. Ultras, against this many Immortals, they have a really hard time pushing in. Broodlords, on the other hand, this is where they can excel.
They really can. I mean, we've seen Ultraless melt against a unit composition like this, haven't we? Run-bys from Zealot run-bys from Harstem, gonna be able to take out a base.
Yeah, they do take out the base on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, they're going for the mineral line as well. Broodlords are now revealed, and Harstem has a bit of a heads up here when it comes to the armor composition he's up against. He should now start working towards carriers or Tempest once again. As a lot of drones are actually going down to these Zealots. It's a surprising amount, actually.
Yeah, soO's still taking a little bit of a lead, but he doesn't have the end game number of workers that he wants as a third player. Going back up to 80, so not too bad, but and he does have a bank, so I guess it is all right for soO to have a few less workers at this point, but still something to keep in mind as the mineral patches start to run out.
Yeah, and here we go. We're going for that most important, crucial base of Harstem. He's going to try and come in from behind. The Broodlords are looking a little bit exposed. One Broodlord does go down, but we have the Queens to support, to transfuse.
Yeah, to try to, anyway. Full storms do land. Stalker's going to get chased back by the Ultras, but
my God.
Cloak does get activated by the Mothership. Harstem taking a very, very efficient trade.
Yeah, there's no detection. No detection available here, so the Cloak is brutal. Every single Broodlord is going to be going down, but we did kill the base. We did deny mining, and look at the bank of Harstem. There is no bank.
I mean, yeah. There's none. It just goes to show how low of an economy he's been working with this entire time. soO now remaxing. 112 lings, couple of Ultras on the way. He does still need time to get this army up and running, to get all of this in position. But that's the only thing he needs right now.
Oh my God.
He has every other resource at his disposal. Great pickoffs here for Harstem, though.
Yeah, the storms are brutal. Ultras, they melt against the Immortals, and Harstem is all in, but he is breaking through.
He is! High Templar's still gonna survive on top of all of this. And soO doesn't have an easy answer. He doesn't have an answer to the storm. He needs Lings to deal with the Immortals.
Yeah.
But the Lings are gonna melt to the High Templar.
Exactly. You know what would be good right now? Broodlords. But again, we don't have time for Broodlords right now. soO trying to expand elsewhere, trying to get some mining going, does catch some reinforcements. But again, Ling Ultra doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it against this. We have 9 Ultras on the way. Ultra haven't going to be focused down. Potentially these ultras could be enough. We don't really have much of a buffer for these immortals, so it could still work.
Potentially a couple of Archons to get morphed in. We still have 2 very high energy High Templar remaining.
We do have those 2 High Templar in the back line. Harstem rotating around, making his way over towards some of the fresh mining bases here of soO, who almost does get one of those ultras as well, as soO is remaxing, soO is rebuilding, burning through his bank as we speak. This is going to be the last remax that soO has. Oh.
Yeah, pretty much. soO trying to keep eyes on this army, trying to catch the position of the High Templar. If he can snipe the High Templar of his immortals, his Lings are going to be free to surround everything else.
Yeah, and
but if not...
I mean, we do catch some reinforcements. Archon and Immortal going to be going down. At the same time, Harstem going for a base trade. We're going for these fresh mining bases. Hatchery does go down. And soO, do we commit? No, soO is turning back around, actually.
Yeah, an interesting choice. I think soO has recognized that Harstem pretty much has no mining, doesn't really have any resources. All he has is all he's got. And so if soO can find the right position to take out this army, that's going to be game, but that's still a very big if.
Yeah, oh, we have some DTs slipping in as well, forcing a cancel on the top right base. soO is down to 1.5 base mining here. Doesn't really have much of an economy anymore himself. soO also, it looks like star for Larva more than anything. I just realized because soO has a bank, soO has, or he's not supply blocked, but Larva is a resource that he's now limited to.
Yeah, it doesn't have all those bases spread out on the map. Even the natural base, the third base, they get taken out, so like I said, Larva is very limited.
Exactly, as soO just trying to build up more Lingbane Ultra. And again, this army still poses a great threat. Looking at the units tab here, we have 10 Immortals!
And that's 10 too many for soO to really deal with the army that he's got.
Yeah, it's like 1-to-1 Immortal for Ultra, which is not something you want to be seeing, as you did mention. We do see soO trying to expand on the right-hand side, but that is exactly what Harstem is. He's just sharking around, going for the kill, going for these bases.
And just trying to find openings where he can. The drones do get cut out in the middle of the map. Not much remaining for soO, resource-wise.
Yeah, again, he's working through all those minerals, has some gas left over, as long as it's mining as well, desperately trying to get an economy going. Harstem is being very careful, though. You can see here that he's being very delicate with his movement, doesn't want to get surrounded by the Ultras.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get surrounded by them, he doesn't want to isolate his High Templar too much. soO just, yeah, trying to do exactly that, trying to find little isolated pockets of the Protoss army that he can try to surround and take out. Templar looking a little exposed, but they will survive. Saved by the Immortals, saved by the Archons.
Yeah, that's the win condition for soO. If he can snipe these 2 High Templar ahead of time, then he can surround. Then he wouldn't have to worry about the storms collapsing on his Lingbane. The Lings, they can go to town, but again, that's going to be a big if, as Harstem does once again threaten that southern or that center base.
Well, they have taken a bit of hull damage, so as the game continues, there are going to be more opportunities, I would say, for soO to try to snipe them, but that's also going to make Harstem so much more careful with them remaining.
Yeah, that it is, as 14 drones go down the hatchery as well. Ooh, we do catch some reinforcements, though. We get an Immortal for free, but the Immortal count is still terrifying. We have 14 Immortals now. We are eclipsing the Ultra count in terms of just pure sheer Immortal. It's pretty insane here. soO has at least gotten another base up and running, and so far I believe it is, yeah, it is unscattered. Harstem doesn't know.
Yeah. soO still has mining. It's a little bit, but it's more than what Harstem has right now, who is desperately trying to long distance mine. Both of them such a low econ. 4 infestors are on the way. Ooh. And that just might be the key here for soO.
Yeah, that's interesting. There is no neural. Neural has not been resourced, so fungal growths are going to be the go-to for soO. Is that going to be enough of a support? I mean, fungal growths will lock down the army, but I don't think that's necessarily what Harstem is worried about. Like, these Immortals, they can stand strong and fight.
They can. Maybe if you can fungal down the High Templar if they're a bit isolated, but we'll see.
We shall see, as another hatchery is going to be going down. We can see soO desperately expanding on the right-hand side. Look, getting ready for the surround. He's going to be collapsing in. Gets the fungal.
Right, too. He does get the fungal. Trying to go for a little bit of a surround, and it looks like soO just about has enough to take this out. The fungals were the key. soO's got this.
Yeah, he locked down the army, cleans everything up, and now soO is going for the kill. GG gets called, soO ties us up, and we are going to the ace match.
Here we go. One more map to determine who is going to get eliminated and who is not yet going to qualify. But instead, move on to the qualifying match.
Yeah, exactly. We still have a little bit more ahead of us here. We have the ace match, and then we have one more series as Lambo is still lying in wait patiently for either Harstem or soO.
Indeed, we shall. I feel like we should keep going, you know? Or rather, we should keep this going. We've just crossed the 11-hour mark. We're getting pretty close to 12.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Getting there. Getting there.
Yeah.
Can we get to the point where we exceed any stream we've ever had before? I think our limit has been 14 hours. I can't remember if it's been 14
yeah, that
or
was
16. One of the two.
Not Infernalis. Or was it Infernalis?
Rebirth.
It was Latin America. Rebirth, that's what it was, yeah.
That was our limit, and we'll see if we can exceed that and go even further beyond for now. Whew, looks like our players, they need a moment to catch their breath after what just happened, and yeah, hopefully they're okay at the venue as well. I know that some venues like to close a little bit earlier.
Yeah. That's what I was going to go, you know, hopefully it didn't shut out the power because they reached the time limit.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we can still just play out our series and our matches here. Ooh, as we have the ace map of choice. Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually an interesting scenario. I believe there's a contingency just in case that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially it reaches a point where they start kicking out like the crowd and like the viewers, but like I think the players can still play. I think they're still good to go.
Yeah. It's all been determined. Or it's all been, you know,
accounted for,
agreed upon, and we're safe is what I'm trying to say, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's been thought of. And speaking of thought of, here we are on our ace match, our final map of this best of 3 series. We're tied up 1-1, and we're spawning into El Guione, where we're here in the top right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top right. We have our red Protoss player coming out from the land of the Netherlands, is what I meant to say. We have, representing Shopify Rebellion, it's Harstem.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing CranKy Gaming. It is soO. Boy, here we go. We find ourselves in the ace match. It's been a grueling back and forth, Yaku, but regardless of how this goes, it all ends here on Akione. For this series.
This series, yeah. Should clarify that.
Yeah, I should, yeah. We got another series after
all ends here. We do have another series after this. Be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah,
potentially that rematch or potentially that CPC.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can, I don't know. Part of me wants to avoid the mirror matchup, but at the same time, I feel like the ZVZ will be a little bit faster. So, it depends what we want.
Well, if it was any other Korean Zerg player, I would agree. But soO's a mid-game boy, even in CVC.
There you go.
But I guess mid-game is faster than, is still shorter than, you know, split map Sky Toss versus Sky Zerg, so you might be right.
Maybe.
I mean, right there, it's...
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have another, like, late game ZVP, as you mentioned. It's possible. That's how this series has been turning out so far, and I mean, Alkiona is another good map for that, right? To settle into a split map scenario, 4 base versus 4 base, as opposed to Oceanborn. Because this map is a bit larger, it is far easier for a player like Harstem, or either player really, to take a fit, right? To take the goal base, to expand and to expand a little bit more freely and just have a more solid economy to sustain themselves.
Yeah, it's larger, it's a bit more linear when it comes to expansion paths, as you were mentioning. There aren't too many openings when it comes to some of these. When it comes to some of these expansions, in the numbers that are high, by that I mean, you know, numbers like 4.
yeah, that I mean, I'm not on it. We can count higher than 4. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if we study,
True.
can.
Yeah. Takes a bit of effort there. But we'll see how we settle into this as soO sneaks in across the map, slips into the natural, going for a probe kill, and oh, we do get 1 probe.
Yeah, not too bad. soO keeps his Lings alive and will be able to sneak into the main and get a cheeky little scout.
Yeah, he wants to get a second probe if at all possible. If at all possible, does force some delayed mining time here. We do see our tech of choice. It's going to be a Stargate over, and 1 more probe goes down. Yeah,
pretty good. All things considered, pretty good opening here for soO. Let's see if he's able to defend against the Oracle. Sorry, has Queens in position.
Okay, Queens are in position. Good stuff stepping here from soO. 1 drone does get picked up, but only 1 so far. Not a worthwhile trade for Harstem, but at least he keeps the Oracle alive, just barely.
Yeah, so far the trade hasn't been worthwhile, but there's still a lot of potential for Harstem to keep this going. It's just regenerating shields on that Oracle. He could dip out, try to evacuate, and meet up with the additional Oracles he's sending across the map, or he could go for some split harass like he did on Oceanborn.
Yeah, so far, I mean, he gets 1 more drone kill. As you mentioned, Oceanborn, he was a little bit more successful in his aggression. Meanwhile, I see a Twilight Council, but I don't see a Forge. This is an interesting choice here by Harstem. I'm curious if this is going to be a committed Blink-based opener, and yes, it is. Blink is on the way. We did second guess ourselves for a moment, but this is a really fast Blink.
Yeah, I thought I was tripping when I saw Charge for a very split second. But no, it was cancelled, and we do have Blink on the way. No Robo, so like you said, just very committed Blink opening. Harstem looking to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, he's looking to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, as you're saying, there is no Forge, or the Forge is quite late, it's quite delayed. The advantage of this is that you're able to be active that much sooner with your Blink Stalker. You should be very aggressive, very active, move out across the map, and apply pressure to the Zerg player a lot sooner than you otherwise would with +1.
Yeah, I see what you did.
What did I do?
soO, I don't know, that wasn't even something that...
You're an
I'm just glomming on to the words at this point.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah. Need to hold on to them. Anyway. As you mentioned, on the flip side of things, soO is just playing out a relatively normal game. He is getting into his Roach War and getting +1, which is what you want when dealing against Blink Stalkers in particular.
Yeah, the Stalkers are moving out. As you mentioned, we have a lot of Lings, but the Lings that are across the map, they're not necessarily back at home to defend, so Harstem can gain ground. He picks off an Overlord, and soO will be threatening a run-by instead. I mean, we don't actually have too much to defend at the 3rd base, but we do have a Sentry and Force Fields as Stalkers. They keep trying to push in, but for now, they're forced back.
Yeah, forces a recall out of Harstem, which is ideal here for soO. He still needs a little bit more time to get to his next phase, to finish up Lair, and get his next stage of upgrades, his next round of upgrades.
Yeah, exactly. That Lair is soon about to finish. Meanwhile, from the side of Harstem, he wasn't able to do too much with his Blink timing, and he's working on his next step. We have +1, Charge, Temple Archives. This will be for Storm, for Archon production. Once again, Harstem isn't really embracing Colossus. Colossus are not going to be a factor here in this game.
Now that you mention it, that is, yeah, an interesting choice in both series that we were able to, or both games so far that we were able to cast, and a little bit in game number 1 from what I've been able to piece together from Steadfast's stream. he does seem to avoid the Robo Bay. He's focusing a lot more on Immortals. He utilized the Warp Prism to pretty good effect, I would say, but yeah, for the most part is avoiding that and is trying to head straight into, or focusing mostly on Storms for AoE, and then eventually transitioning to Sky Toss.
Yeah, that's been Harstem's MO here so far in this series. We'll see if that continues here in game number 3 as Lings, they go for a run by. They're not going to get too much done, but they do get eyes on the Archons and on the High Templar. So soO is fully aware of the tech that he's up against, and he's going to be doubling down into Ling Bane, Roach Ravager. This time soO isn't rushing into Hydras.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a, I guess, a map-dependent choice earlier from soO on Oceanborn, where he really did want to focus a lot on having a mobile force on the map. This time, he's not rushing into Hydras. He is rushing into Hive.
Yeah, the Hive is on the way, and that should, I mean, whenever I see a Hive, I'm feeling Lurker tech. But we saw in the last game that soO didn't make a single Lurker. He didn't throw down a Lurker den. He just played Ling Bane Hydra into Ultra more than anything. I mean, he went Corruptor into Broodlord, then into Ultra. It was a very different kind of playstyle there from soO, so I'm still lying in wait to see what comes next.
Yeah, Spire does get thrown down.
There it is.
Like you mentioned, just no Hydra Den in sight, so we're going full on to, yeah, I think we're going fully into what we saw in Oceanborn, which is Greater Spire, Brute Lords into Ultras, which is not exactly a linear progression path when it comes to tech, but one that can still work out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if a Greater Spire starts immediately. As soon as the Hive is done, as soon as the Spire is done, if we can rush into a Greater Spire, the goal here might be to hit a Broodlord timing, which can hit like a truck, especially against a ground-based army. So we'll see if soO does embrace that. For now, we do see Harstem moving out. Ooh, we are vulnerable though to a surround, so Harstem has to calm down. Thankfully, there are plenty of High Templar behind this.
Indeed, there are, and much like on Oceanborn, we did see how High Templar are the biggest deterrent when it comes to Ling Bane. soO just barely misses the run by. So Harstem going to be setting up for a little bit of a multi-prong.
Yeah, it's a lot of Zealots here towards the southern half of the map. Lings are going to be rushing in. They're going for the High Templar. They morph in an Archon, and they're going to trade quite well here. These Cracklings are not doing too badly against the Gateway army, but we do have to retreat. Again, just bleeding out Lings. And there it is. There's that fast Greater Spire.
Slowly but surely. Well, not that slowly, as we are only at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, we'll keep it on the Corruptor count of soO to see when he does decide to invest.
Yeah, he does need to keep a little bit of his supply open. He does need to. As a fun fact, Brute Lords do cost a little bit of supply when you upgrade them or when you morph them from Corruptors.
Yeah, there is a bit of setup involved, but here we go. We see soO, he's maxed out. He's pushing towards the third base. Has to still respect those High Templar. I mean, we saw how brutal those storms could be, especially in the previous game. So soO doesn't quite commit. Back at home, Zealot Runback comes in, and soO is distracted. Force back.
Very distracted. That was, okay, cancel, not quite a kill on that hatch, but like you said, soO is very distracted. This one Warp Prism is putting a lot of breaks in the momentum of soO.
Again, it does slow him down quite a lot here. I mean, he will eventually shut this down and clean this up. Corruptors are on the way, Ultra Cavern as well. So yeah, very similar playstyle here from the last game out of soO.
Yeah, very similar, but hitting a lot quicker. Very clutch body blocking, very clutch warp-ins and force fields coming out here from Harstem. That could have been disastrous. But for now, Harstem's going to keep his economy going.
Yeah, he does hold on. He does maintain his economy, and that's the 5th now on the way. A base that Harstem never really got going on Oceanborn, but now has in production here on Alcyone. Bailey run by runs into the Archons. Harstem pushing out, looking to shut down these bases. And soO, can he stop this army? I mean, that's a lot of Archons. That's a lot of Immortal. This is a beefy force.
And that's a lot of Archons, that's a lot of Immortals, that's a lot of high energy, High Templar. That's not a lot of Brute Lords that soO has available for him right now.
Not at all. Banelings, they try to get in once again. The force field is thrown down, and the main army is pushing in. Is even going to be threatening that natural. We are so close to getting on top of that. soO, ready for a surround, ready to collapse on this army.
Yeah, he's just waiting for Harstem to get into prime position. Finally, the Banelings do break forward, do bust into that mineral line. And the Brood Lords are out.
Yeah, the base has fallen, but as you mentioned, with these Brood Lords, if Harstem did commit to a fight, then he'd be in a lot of trouble. Once again, soO committing to these Baneling Rumbys. I mean, finally he's getting damage done, and he's going for the mineral line.
Yeah, these probes are trapped in this base. Harstem has a split, but it's not enough room. 16 of them go down. 20 of them go down.
20 probe kills. I mean, we had 12 earlier. Harstem down to 51 workers. His economy is struggling right now. Does have bases, but the workers are not quite there. And now that Broodlord count is getting higher and higher, Harstem, he is not ready for a Skytoss transition.
Not at all. He was setting up for it. He has the fight. He has the bases ready. He doesn't have the workers anymore.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the workers at the bank, and soO is looking to just continue hammering that home.
Exactly. I mean, these Broodlords, how do we answer this? They're going to be coming in, forcing away the Archons and the Immortals. Their range is just so short. Barely any Stalkers, and Harstem, he just has to turn back around. He cannot push in.
Yeah, even a little bit of body blocking in the choke points here. Kind of cutting off the retreat every now and then. High Templar does land a storm, but that's not going to be enough here. You need 3 or 4 storms to really turn the tables right now for Harstem.
Yeah, Harstem, he does warp in a big wave of Stalkers, and that will help collapse on these Broodlords. soO has to be very careful with how he does engage, as he's zoning away the army, and that means we're going for the base. We're going for the 5th.
Yeah, these Stalkers can definitely do a lot to threaten the Broodlords, but without any air units, they can just retreat to the dead air position. The entire mineral line goes down, and that 5th base is now forfeit. Harstem in an even more dire economic position than he already was.
Yeah, things are going dire here for Harstem. He's going for a desperate counterattack with a couple of Archons. This is going to be an expensive run by. Has to be careful at the same time. Broodlords still being active. Harstem's hope here is to catch the Broodlords. If he can catch them off guard with his Winged Stalkers, then he definitely has a chance to win this game. Likewise, Tempest production has begun, making 2 Tempests at a time.
Yeah, eventually we're going to get to a point where these Broodlords are going to fall, but then you have to start worrying about the ground army. Yeah, we still have a lot of High Templar, we still have a lot of Storms available. And soO, apart from these Broodlords, is still working on a Ravager Lingbane army composition. So there's still a lot of potential here for Harstem.
Yeah, here we go. As the Lingbane rolls on in. The Storm's going to be zoning soO away for now. Tempest, they gets a couple of hits in here on the Broodlords. Not too bad, as Broodlords are falling one after the other. We blink on in. Oh.
Yeah, no dead air to retreat to, at least not in this part of the map. A lot of Storms do get thrown down. Not enough Corruptors. No Corruptors in the air to really zone away the Tempest just yet.
Exactly, as soO does have to retreat, he has to back off. We have 7 Corruptors in production, but again, we need a little bit more time to get them going, as this death ball of an army from Harstem is pushing in, but we've been here before. Harstem has no bank, Harstem is all in.
Yeah, once again, all he has is all he's got, and he's starting to have even less as these Broodlords get into position.
Yeah, now we finally have some Corruptors. They have to be careful. Storm does zone away the Lingbane for now, and every Broodlord is going to be going down to the Tempest.
Yeah, these Corruptors haven't really been able to get into position and take out the Tempest. A couple of Broodlords do survive, but there's a blink forward. Yeah, they get taken out. soO has a bank. He is trying to remax. But I'm not convinced he's dealt enough damage. I mean, there aren't any more High Templar. Yeah, no, it's going to be beneficial for him.
Yeah, no more High Templar, no more Storms. We have 9 Ultras in production. We have a wall of Spine Crawlers as well, but that's a lot of Immortals, and we still have Tempest. We don't have any Corruptors left.
That we do not. soO has completely neglected Corruptor production. Looks like he's hoping to be able to deal with the ground army before switching into Corruptors, but that's looking less likely to happen.
It really is, and Harstem, has he done it? I mean, soO is maxed out, but looking at the army, soO has nothing that shoots up. And these Tempests, they're getting free damage, they're getting free ultras.
They really are. soO's gonna have to completely give up his gold base. He's trying to go for a little bit of a base trade right now. And Harstem does have recall available, but he doesn't feel pressured to utilize it yet.
Yeah, well, he does cast a mineral line. Every single worker is going to be going down. We do cripple the economy, but at the same time, the main army for Harstem is greater than that of soO. Corruptors are in production, and potentially we could actually catch these Tempests on their own. These Tempests are a little bit exposed here, and the Corruptors could definitely shut them down as we do recall back home.
Do recall into the main base, but it's only half the army. With the SimCity, that may just about be enough. It's mostly Immortals that they get recalled, and it's mostly Ultras in this assault.
Yeah, we do see soO racing on back. Corruptors have arrived. They're rallying out across the map, but we do have to consolidate our army. We do have to retreat.
A couple of Stalkers do get caught, but they will be able to blink away. Retreat back to the main army.
soO retreat, bleeding out a lot of Ultras in the process. Expensive losses here for soO. Now he does kill the base. There's a world out there. Do you think it's worth like bypassing this army and just killing all the buildings? Like, that might be a more viable option, but for now we are getting ready.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, recall is on cooldown.
It is
so
on
there's
cooldown.
a world, but I don't think soO. Yeah, I don't think soO has confirmed just how few units Harstem has left. We do get a full surround on the ground army. We still have a lot of Immortals to work with. Harstem kiting this back. soO out of a bank, not able to remax, not yet.
And he does clean up all the Tempests, but the ground army of Harstem stands strong. We still have those 5 Immortals, and they are putting in the work. They're putting in so much work here. soO has to retreat. He is making more links. He does have an economy to work with, but just barely. He's running out of money.
And he has an economy. We didn't say it was a good economy.
Yeah, and it looks like Harstem may have just done it. He's broken on through, cleaned up every single Ultra. We just some reinforcements coming in, but the Ultras, they get targeted down.
Yeah, these units of soO, they're just not in the right position. He needs the Ultras to be attacking the Archons and the Lings to be attacking the Immortals. Instead, it was the exact other way around.
Well, the Ultras got 2-shot as well. They could not touch the army. And soO, he almost has nothing left. He's making links as we speak. He's trying to go across the map. We have Corruptors that aren't really doing too much either. And Harstem, he's so close to taking it all.
He is very close, but so is soO. There's a world out there where he fights with Broodlings. And he's able to just overwhelm the tiny force. Tiny but potent force that Harstem has on the map.
Yeah, again, I think that the base trade might be the best choice because of Broodlings. Even then, though, Broodlings won't really touch this army. Like, Archon Immortal is so beefy. They're going for the tech structures. Lings, they try to collapse on this. Void's being pulled as well, but the Archons, they go to town.
Yeah, really great body blocking. Really good positioning from Harstem. And I think he's just done it.
Yeah, he bleeds out 2 Immortals. He's down to 2 Immortals and 2 Archons remaining. soO still has some mining going on. He's still making more Lings, but this is the last mining base. The last mining base of soO. He has no other hatcheries out on the map, and mining is now denied.
Mining has been denied. I want to believe in the power of the Broodlings, but yeah, Harstem can just avoid them now.
He can avoid them. He's regenerating shields as we speak. The drone's trying to get the hell out of here, and we do come in for a surround.
We do come in for a full-on surround. Pretty good drone drilling from soO, but it's not gonna... yeah, it's not gonna be enough. Zealots do pop in. That's gonna be in. GG is called, and Harstem, and a series that goes down to the absolute wire, is gonna take it in the end.
GG.
Oh boy.
GG, well played. Harstem, he takes it just barely 2-1, brings soO down. Again, soO had an economy, soO had mining, but alas, what he didn't have was any Broodlords left over, or if you remember, he over-invested into Ultras. That was when we had the 5 Tempests raining down the army. It took far too long to get into Corruptor production to deal with those Tempests. They got so much value, and Harstem with that Archon Immortal-based army, which has been quite trendy as of late, did just, trade so incredibly efficiently and took soO down. GG.
Yeah, took soO down. GG. soO is now eliminated from ESL Masters Spring. Harstem going to continue to face Lambo in a bit of a cheeky rematch.
Oh yeah, we do have that rematch. Earlier in the day, we didn't get to cast it, but both Lambo and Harstem did face off in the upper bracket. Lambo took down Harstem 2-0, and what is important here about Lambo and Harstem is that they are both teammates. They both practice quite often. They're good friends, and this leads into a really interesting dynamic where they both know the ins and outs of each other, and it leads to a lot of metagaming.
Indeed, it does. Yeah, indeed, it does. A lot of metagaming that could come into play. A lot of an additional layer to that as well, as we are coming in to a bit of a rematch here. Lambo did get the upper hand earlier, but Harstem is usually a player who is very adaptable in the middle of a tournament. You know, if he is about to rematch someone, especially a teammate, he's usually able to formulate something pretty quickly.
Exactly. It's going to be a battle of the brains here between Harstem and Lambo. It is a little bit bittersweet because one of them will be eliminated, the other will advance on. Who will it be? Who do we give the edge to?
But you know what? We have 3 Shopify Rebellion players moving forward. Confirmed.
3?
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
3.
True. We have Bjorn, we have Scarlet, and now either Harstem or Lambo. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good. Actually, I think this is the best case scenario for Shopify Rebellion, looking at it as a team, because only 2 players would advance. 3 of them will place in bracket C, so we already have Bjorn moving forward to the knockout stage, and now we'll see if it's going to be Harstem or Lambo moving forward.
Yeah.
Pretty bittersweet, as you were saying.
Yes. Only enough room for one more player here, and of course, because it's going to be the final series of the night, predictions will soon be open in the chat, so you can get your gamba going on who you believe is going to make it into, or is going to continue their run in this tournament, and who is eliminated from DreamHack Dallas from ESL Masters Spring. Oh boy, it's going to be up to you to decide in the chat. Best of luck.
Yeah, up to you, viewer. Choose wisely.
Yes, vetoes are going to be underway, and we will have at least a little bit of time to ourselves here to get ready for that. So I guess we're... Break?
Yeah. Give our players a little bit of time to, well, I guess specifically give Harstem a little bit of time to refresh, and give both of them some time to conduct their vetoes.
There you go. So we're going to be going in a short break. When we return, we will have our final series of the day.
Stay tuned.